Part 3. As I stated in my previous videos, this dispute over land goes back way before the Christ era. And it's been debated by several religious scholars who want to claim ownership over the city of Jerusalem, which then gives them ownership to the land that's surrounding it. Once the Ottoman Empire collapsed and the British, along with some help from the French, took over, that made the division even deeper because they were playing both sides. Now remember, according to the Balfour Declaration, they had promised the Jews an independent state in Palestine, and then there's another set of letters where they promised the Arabs an independent Arab state if they helped them defeat the Ottoman Empire. Now, in my opinion, I believe this was a tactic for Western civilizations to have an ops in the Middle East. And I also believe the surrounding countries know it as well, which is why they oppose this, on top of them just coming in and giving their land away when they were the ones who helped the British gain power over the Ottoman Empire. So I definitely understand the concern on the end of the Arabs. And as you can see, Israel is literally dead set in the middle, surrounded by other Arab nations. Now, what the British didn't bank on was the Jews forming militant groups to start fighting them, plus they were broke from World War II, so they had no choice but to withdraw and let the United Nations handle this crisis. This withdrawal is what I think led the Jews to eventually ally with Western civilizations so that they can secure a safe place in the near future. I think the biggest misconception about this issue is religion, which in my opinion is further from the case, because there have been extremists on both sides of this cause, and this is the reason why they're having these issues today, by keeping up hatred and division. And of course, it doesn't help when you have the US and other countries attempting to keep the peace, but also inserting themselves into the negotiations for their own personal gain, especially since the US and other nations rely heavily on intelligence from Israel on the surrounding countries in the Middle East. This is why diplomacy matters when choosing a leader, because expecting President Biden, who's just another representative of the United Nations, to debo Israel when there is no written agreement, just verbal, regarding intelligence and security, and in my opinion, that's being very intellectually dishonest. Not to mention that Biden actually negotiated a ceasefire between Gaza and Israel 2 years ago, but everybody that's talking crap about him today had nothing to say about that. I've also looked at some of the videos of these large content creators who are spreading this misinformation, and I don't see anything prior to October 7th about any concerns as to what's been going on in the Gaza Strip. So it's giving very much clout chasing at this point, and it just goes to show me that a lot of people who are talking about this right now really don't care about it, and I can guarantee you next week we'll probably be talking about something else.
Palestinians and Israelis equally deserve to live safely and securely and to enjoy equal measures of freedom, prosperity, and democracy. My administration will continue our quiet, relentless diplomacy toward that end. I believe we have a genuine opportunity to make progress, and I'm committed to working for it.
Then you have the Abraham Accords, which is a bilateral agreement between Israel, the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan, which produced nothing tangible for the Israeli-Palestine conflict, but of course this was negotiated during the Trump administration, and this was basically a way for these nations to recognize Israel as an independent state. There has been a ton of misinformation being shared from both sides, and even doing my research, I discovered just how complex this conflict really is and why everyone is so confused. Because me personally, I think the Palestinians and the Israelis were both taken advantage of by the British. Then, of course, you have countries who saw an opportunity to secure an ally in the Middle East, because we all know there's a ton of oil there, especially at this time. And of course, there are no allies or reliable intelligence from any of the other surrounding countries, and this is why they are getting funding from countries like the US and the EU, because this is going to come at a cost. Now, President Biden needed to be dragged for this statement about the babies, and we definitely need answers about that hospital. However, it's not hard to see that he was referring to reports shared with him. Now, as a leader, he is responsible for what he puts out to the public. But calling him Genocide Joe, when first of all, this is not genocide, by the way, I really think you guys need to look up the definition of genocide. I would definitely call this more so apartheid. But to call him Genocide Joe when he was the one that actually negotiated a ceasefire less than 2 years ago, while completely dismissing the person who was one-sided during his entire 4 years in the White House and actually is the cause as to why this situation has escalated even further. And this is the nominee for the 2024 election. So if you're not voting for Joe Biden, this is who you want in the White House. Now, this is where I say that these content creators are spreading misinformation, especially if you're a content creator that is calling for a ceasefire. That already lets me know that you don't really know much about this conflict, because there have been multiple ceasefires. There was one as recent as May of this year. President Joe Biden negotiated a ceasefire less than 2 years ago. Hillary Clinton, who was Secretary of State at the time, she negotiated a ceasefire. There has been multiple ceasefires negotiated. Egypt has negotiated multiple ceasefires. And let's be honest, the real reason why Egypt doesn't want to take these refugees in really is not more so because they feel like they're not going to be able to go back to their homeland. They don't want to take these refugees in because they know, or they feel that these refugees will have Hamas infiltrators, and of course that is going to be a danger to their government. So they also have to protect their governments as well too. This is why I think you guys need to understand how diplomacy works, how international affairs works, and you really should not be speaking on topics that you're not knowledgeable about. What I find ironic about this is the same person that these content creators are saying is funding a genocide was the person that actually had to push Israel to open the gates so that they can deliver humanitarian aid to those citizens in Gaza. I also have yet to see these content creators make any follow-up videos correcting the narrative that President Biden is funding a genocide, which is factually incorrect. Now, I have seen content creators talking about how they're losing followers because they think that people are unfollowing them because they're supporting Palestine. However, people are unfollowing you because they know they have the wherewithal to fact check, and they know that you are spreading misinformation. And I've also seen people try to correct the content creators in the comments, and they are being completely dismissive, or they're not even responding to the comments as well too. So that's why people are unfollowing you. If you're losing followers because of this, it's likely because you're spreading misinformation. That's all I have to say. Now, I definitely would suggest you do some fact checking. If you have any questions, I'll definitely be happy to answer. And I will be going live to further discuss this and ask any questions if need be. However, I would challenge anybody who disagrees with this video to actually make a video, show some facts. Don't be coming in the comments typing a bunch of paragraphs, because it did take me a long time. I had to thoroughly research this topic. I had to look through several articles, and that basically, and somebody trying to counter this video with a few comments is not going to cut it. So all I'm asking is that you be transparent. You look at these videos with an open mind, and you understand the concept and why things are the way they are. Unfortunately, I wish things could be different, but we don't live in a utopia, and we have to be realistic here. It is what it is. I do hope that this conflict does get resolved, but I just feel like nothing's going to change at the end of the day. Regardless of what administration is elected, they're going to continue to fund them because they need that security intelligence. And if you don't have any expertise in foreign relations, you won't be able to understand that. I don't understand it because I don't have expertise in that. That's why I have to go by the experts. However, like I stated in the first two videos, or the first video, I can't even remember because it's like 11 of these videos. This video wasn't intended to offend anyone, but just more so to educate. Thank you. Like, comment, and share.